You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.
This is Rod Mahood, your in-game voice of the Niagara IceDogs, and you're listening to the Dog Pound Podcast on the Armchair GM Sports Network, your podcast source for all game analysis, team interviews, and up-to-date news regarding the Niagara IceDogs.
Perlini! Overtime! IceDogs win! They score! Verhage was also jamming away. It's a power play goal for the IceDogs. And they score! Hosang, first goal as an IceDog. Strom stops Shipley. Richie scores! Gets it to Akil Thomas. Thomas has the angle coming in. He scores!
And welcome into another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family, and there are three great Niagara region locations in Niagara Falls, Fawn Hill, and Scott Street in St. Catharines. Thank you to those that are tuned in on our Armchair GM Sports Network YouTube channel in the video form. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell. Stay updated with all of our video coverage here on the network. And thank you to our loyal audio listeners on your favorite on-demand audio platform. Brandon Caputo and Christian Simmons are back with you to discuss another week for the Niagara IceDogs. A very tough week for the IceDogs. A couple of big-time opponents that they played against this weekend. We're going to break it all down for you guys with some highlight clips. We're also going to hear from IceDogs head coach Krys Barch, as well as star forward Ryan Roobroeck, as he's leaving us for the CHL USA Prospects Challenge this week. A great opportunity for him out in Alberta. And as well, we'll discuss sort of the week ahead for the IceDogs and go over some weekly statistics and other little bit of breakdown that Christian has regarding the team right now. Make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast to stay up to date with all of our IceDogs coverage. We'll have some fan polls for next week's big end of month show. We'll have GM Frank Evola on, as well as Captain Kevin. He will be doing a ticket giveaway as well, so you're not going to want to miss our big end-of-month recap next week. And Teddy Bear Toss this Sunday, we'll be doing some special stuff for you guys at the rink as well. So with all that out of the way, Christian, how are you feeling this week other than a bit tired?
Oh, yeah, drained, man. Long week, but a good week. A long week of hockey is always a happy week for myself. I love being around rinks, so I'm a little bit of a sadist in that way. I like to be in hockey rinks even when I can barely open my eyes. So, yeah, no, a good week. I'm going to throw it right back to you, Brandon. How are you feeling? And then I got a question for you. Have you ever seen the movie Thunderstruck?
This is a loaded question, so I'm going to say I'm doing well, maybe. Other than, you know, I'd feel a lot happier if the IceDogs picked up 4 points this weekend, but
yes. So that's where I was going with this. Have you ever seen the movie Thunderstruck? For those of you who are listening and watching right now, if you've ever seen it, comment down below. Give me your best reference from that movie. It's a basketball movie, but starring Kevin Durant and a kid. And something happens where this kid meets his idol, Kevin Durant, his favorite basketball player. He meets him, walks up to him, Katie, sign my basketball. And as Kevin Durant is signing the ball, he's holding the other side of it. They exchange some words and magic strikes. All of a sudden, Kevin Durant cannot play basketball, and the kid has Kevin Durant skills. It was a complete reversal. Now, where I'm going with this is I think Bones needs to hit the post again. He's got to go flying into that post again. I think, if I may, something changed when he ran straight into that left post bar. All of a sudden, the IceDogs can't score. They're snake bitten. And we saw it in Barrie this week. They had tons of chances. They outshot that team. And then, of course, Brantford is just a different beast. But I wanted to open the show with that today. I thought it was an interesting reference. If you've seen that movie, let us know down in the comment section. But yeah, like another tough week. Another tough week, but some positives in there. This isn't going to be another incredibly negative show. We got a lot of positives to take away. I thought the Barrie game was great. I thought there was some good goaltending this weekend. Yermolenko continues to be sharp, up in the upper half, the upper echelon in save percentage. So I'm doing good. I'm excited for the future over the next couple of weeks. But yeah, just another couple of losses, Brandon. What do you think? Have you ever seen Thunderstruck? You haven't seen that movie?
I have not, but you reminded me that I have to pull up the video of this because Bones did return this week.
Yes.
Oh, and I'm going to mute it because it's too loud for the rink. But there you go. Bones is back, and he gave some props to the net.
Yes, he is. He is back. I think that wasn't good enough. That's just he's got to hit it. You got to run into it, man.
I was wondering if backup Bones was just going to be laying in the net, and then he was going to come and save him or something.
Help him up, do some resuscitative measures or something, or CPR.
So standard or regular Bones, whatever you want to call him, is back, and he showed love to the net, returning from that viral clip a few weeks ago. But you are right, Christian. That sort of feels like the Ice Dogs have been running into the post lately with the results in November. Again, they haven't scored the first goal since that October 31st win against the Brampton Steelheads. We're going to get into we already did a post-game show for the Brantford game, so we're just going to touch up on some things that you wanted to point out on a highlight reel and things like that. But again, that Barrie game definitely had a lot more positives. And to me, again, nobody's going to want to hear about it when you're going through a 7-game losing streak. But that was the Ice Dogs' best game, I would say, since that October 31st last win that they had against Brampton. They controlled the pace of play a lot. They outshot the Colts. They got down 4-1, but that really wasn't the whole story. And then they almost ended up coming back and tying it late in regulation with the 2 goals they got in the third, and then almost tying it to, as the clock was expiring in the crease there. But again, this Barrie team's a team that they're going to have to play a lot. They've already played them twice, and both games came right down to the wire. If you remember, the Ice Dogs had that 6-5 loss in overtime because they had a lead, and Barrie came back on them. So again, we talked about it going into the week, Christian. These were going to be 2 sort of benchmark games for them. We know what Brantford is, and at the time of recording this, they might be in the middle of making another big trade to really make themselves the class of the OHL. So still undefeated.
Who's trading to this team? Can somebody answer me this question? Who is trading good players to the Brantford Bulldogs still?
They're giving up assets.
What's going on with that? But anyways, continue. I didn't mean to cut you off. But
so I'm gonna pull up this clip that you put together, Christian, and we're just gonna kind of go through some of the things that the Ice Dogs will need to clean up here. That Baudouin clip when he skated around the entire zone and then ripped it. That one to me really stood out from the Barrie game.
Yeah, there's a couple of clips in here, and I created this reel, this little compilation with the phrase in mind, little things, little mistakes. There's things kind of in and around. And this one here, the Cole Baudouin goal, there's a missed assignment. There's 2 wingers, both going to the left D. Not really sure where they're supposed to be. You see it again here. He comes up top. One winger goes one way, the other guy follows him, and all of a sudden Baudouin has a wide open pocket just right up top, at that high slot area. This one here, you got to get the puck deep. You turn it over at center, a 2-on-1 goes the other way, and good players aren't going to miss good opportunities, and that's what happens there. They score. That
was a minute into the second period, by the way.
Yep. Yeah, again, starting on time. We've talked about it, and just making sure that puck gets deep. That's a little thing that good players can do if, they make sure that you get that puck in deep right there. If
2-on-1.
2-on-1 the other way, and like I said,
I can't even blame Robertson on that, to be honest.
No, and those are opportunities that Barrie's going to score. Here's another one. They come across the line, 5 wide. Who's covering Aitchison, right, on the back door? Getting a little bit lost in coverage, keeping your head on a swivel in the defensive zone is something that is really important. And if you can't do that, you're going to get caught. Look at this, 4 Ice Dogs all facing the puck, nobody watching behind them. And Aitchison sneaks into that soft spot. He buries it. So just a couple of things from that Barrie game as we move to the Brantford one here. Just another one. I know that's Roobroeck. He's not a defender, but you got to put some pressure on it. That's Merrick Van Acker. He's got 18 goals this season. You can't let him walk into that high slot and rip one. So for me,
think that one is one that Yermolenko in that game was probably the only one that he'd want back out of the 5 that Brantford scored. And that was shorthanded as well. Like that was a big momentum shift in the game because the IceDogs were on a power play. They could have got the lead, and then all of a sudden Brantford scores shorthanded. They have a 3-on-2 the other way. And as you mentioned, Van Acker, the Chicago Blackhawks prospect, makes no mistake on it.
Yeah, and just, Ethan Zada, just he's coasting down the left side. Kevin He, the trailer, and then Roobroeck. It's a triangle of guys around Van Acker. And when you're on the power play, there's got to be some urgency to get the puck back. He can't have that much space, to kind of walk into the high slot and fire one in shorthanded. So for me, that was just a little one. You see here, another great angle from your TV, just all kind of space. You know what? I think it was offside. I think Ed Burkholder, color commentary for the IceDogs, also thought it was offside. So, I mean, this is a gray area. I'm not going to speculate. What's done is done. They called it a goal. But for me, it's just little things. It's little things. You're that close. You play a great game offensively. You outshoot Barrie. You have all kinds of opportunities to win that game, and there's just these little things. Like, you get the puck deep there, a 2-on-1 doesn't go the other way. Maybe it's a 4-3 game or a 3-3 game. And then it makes everything so much different, when you get caught with these mistakes. But that's what happens, right? When you make mistakes against good teams, they're going to make you pay for it. So again, I don't want to get negative here. The Barrie game was fantastic. That was, we talked about this off camera. We talked about it, a little bit during the game, back and forth, in our text chains. Like, that was a fantastic hockey game. They played great. They deserved to win. They outshot Barrie. They came all the way back. They completely dominated the third period. Like, it wasn't even close, so I think it's just, it sucks that's the result. And then Brantford, of course, just a totally different level of hockey. It's like an AHL team. And, we heard Krys Barch talk a little bit about that post game. So just like little things, being responsible with the puck, putting the puck in the right areas. And, you start to clean things up here. I think this team is trending in the right direction. Let's say that, just 3 wins in the last 10, a 7-game losing streak, 2 of them coming in overtime. So they're not all regulation losses, but it's still just unfortunate. It's unfortunate that this is the way kind of the cookie's crumbling right now. And I don't know, man, I feel a little bit cursed. All the teams that I'm covering right now are all on losing streaks. So don't come for me in the comments, but I will say just another tough weekend for sure. The power play continues to struggle, but that was another thing for me this weekend. But yeah, just I liked the effort against Barrie. I will say that a solid game.
We talked about things they needed to improve on. They needed to start really getting a lot of shots on net and out shooting some of these teams. They did that against the Barrie Colts. You see it on the screen there. If you guys watching in video, they outshot Barrie 39-21. The power play, they did get one. They went 1 of 7. But I will say, if you actually watch the game, the power play against the Barrie Colts was better. There was more urgency. They were moving it with more authority. It wasn't sort of like the passive power play that we've seen in the past where, they're just trying to set up a play and they're all just kind of standing still. The IceDogs had a lot of authority. They had urgency on the power play. They were moving it around, as I mentioned. And again, they didn't necessarily capitalize, but I did like some of the strides that they were taking on the power play. But again, when you're still at, under 12% now, last in the Ontario Hockey League, it's hard to find positives on that. But you can tell that they are trying to work through some things and they're trying to implement that box system in the defensive zone that they tried to do against Brantford. But again, when you're playing against a team like that, it's basically an American Hockey League team. It's hard to get those things implemented right away. But it's something that might take them a month or so to fix some of these problems that they're having in their own end, and then as well on the special teams unit on the power play. But it was, again, a 4-3 loss. They didn't pick up a point, but this Barrie game was very encouraging in a lot of ways. And the crowd was very engaged in this game as well. And just a few, as you mentioned, little mistakes here and there cost them 2 or 3 goals in this game. And that was the difference. So,
yeah. And that's, it seems like we've been talking about this for a couple weeks now. It's little things. We know this team has the talent. That's definitely not a problem. that the Niagara Ice Dogs have. They have the kind of personnel that can make plays. So it's just about, finding a combination of system and talent and discipline and talent that's going to help you win hockey games. And I think, we're seeing some players really make strides. Ryan Roobroeck, we talked about it last week. His 200-foot game is starting to come to life. Ethan Zada starting to look a little bit like himself again on the PK. Noah Reed is sliding into this lineup very well as well. Yermolenko starting to play fantastic as well. And of course, Captain Kevin He, as currently showcased on the video version, right back on the goal sheet. Love to see that from the captain, showcasing that speed. So some of the things are starting to come back together. We start to see the team finding offense. And for the last couple of weeks, it's been a bit of a struggle. We haven't really seen, that offense. There's a goal from Roobroeck there, just kind of a bouncer, but get the puck to the net. Those are the kinds of things that happens. What's that Wayne Gretzky saying? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Just a weird shot from the half wall. Roobroeck throws it on goal. It takes a bounce off a Barrie Colts defender, and it's in the back of the net. So, just little things like that. And then this one, just right off the faceoff, Wraith Smith, I think he very well deserved. He's been playing some great hockey. So you see some of these positives, right? Like some of the guys in the bottom six are stepping up. They're scoring. Roobroeck, he continue to play strong hockey. I think, still waiting for Ryerson Edgar to kind of, unpack a little bit of his luggage. Maybe some of it's still left in Nova Scotia, but, when he starts to come to life, I think, we're going to see victories here. It's a slump. Yeah. It's a slump. Teams go through slumps. It's going to happen. I mean, Brantford is going to lose. All right. Windsor's going to lose. So is Kitchener. Good teams lose games sometimes. It's hockey. It's a toss-up. It's in the truest sense a coin toss at times. So you have to take, at a game at a time. You have to take the positives in stride, and Krys Barch is fantastic at that. So we know that he's going to have this team ready for Peterborough and Kitchener next weekend, but no breaks, right? I mean, next weekend isn't going to be any easier. That's a Peterborough team that's on a 3-game winning streak. They've been solid, and we know who Kitchener is. So it's encouraging though. I thought the Barrie effort was solid. Even in the Brantford game, there were some things in there, like, they had some solid puck possession. I think there were some shifts where they pressured a team that looks impenetrable at times in the Brantford Bulldogs. So I think, definitely positives in there.
Yeah, I really liked that you mentioned Ray Smith, because he had a breakaway in the game as well against Barrie. Like, he's using his speed, he's using his body to create those chances. Like, I've really liked what I've seen from Ray Smith as of late, and then got rewarded there late in the game on the nice tie up by Ivan Gallianov on the faceoff dot, and just turned and ripped it and beat Ben Horebic. So you love to see that from number 43. I will say there was one more thing I wanted to bring up from this weekend, because I think it was just showing that this team has the bite when they need to play with it. There you go. And this was the hit from Ethan Zada. This was a massive collision. The fans it was one of those collective O's as Schneid came along here, boom, and Ethan absolutely just got a piece of him. And then obviously Bodie Stewart comes to the aid, and Ethan Zada, he's right there to drop the gloves, right, Christian? And that's, if you make a hit like that, you better be ready to answer the bell. And Ethan Zada is never shy from answering the bell. His dad, Mike Zada, I'm probably sure, has taught him how to stick up for himself in those situations. Big guy himself. So it's I love to see that from Ethan Zada, as far as, just momentum shifts in the game, and when they can possibly do. They're down 2-0 in this game at that time, and he just comes across and just gets a piece of Schneid. Luckily, he did come back in that game for the Barrie Colts, so it was nice to see. But he did leave the game momentarily. But that was just a big collision, and Ethan Zada, that's something else that he brings to the game that's not going to show up on the box score. Hopefully, Flynn from that. But, I don't know if they considered that a high hit or not, but it was just another big part of the game. Both players received fighting majors, I think 10-minute misconducts, and Stewart actually got the instigator on the fight. So that was just another part of the game I wanted to mention, because it's not going to show up there.
Yeah, and I think it's worth mentioning. That's something that, you want to see from this IceDogs team right now, caught in a little bit of a slump. What are we going to do about it? Throws out there. He lays a massive check. And those are the kinds of things that endear you to your teammates. Those are the kind of things that jolt the bench. It's like an additional smelling salts, during the game. It's like, whoa. There's one of our leaders. Those one of our guys right there, showing that, we're not just a bunch of talented guys. We're going to play physical. We play with an edge as well. So you like to see that from one of your leaders. And of course, answering the bell when he needs to. He didn't look out of place there in that fight. Had a couple of rights for Stewart coming right back. So, yeah, I think that's definitely worth mentioning. But of course, you don't love to see another player in a compromising position. So, hope all is well for the Barrie Colts. A young man, I think, was at Schneid.
Yeah, he came back
and actually scored. So he was totally fine. But yeah, just. You like to see that, and that's what this team needs. Yeah, they need an injection of energy, and like I said, they need like a slap in the face, for lack of a better term. Like somebody needs to wake these guys up, and I think you saw it in Barrie, not in Barrie, but in that Barrie game, you saw some jump for maybe the first time in a couple weeks. They outshot that team. They played strong. They were offensively active, and then Azad laying big hits. So I think, we're trending in the right direction. We can say that they're back. We can say that. They didn't win the game, but they played IceDogs hockey, and I think that Zada hit and fight is a testament to that.
Right. So we're going to go to Ryan Roobroeck here on our IceDogs player interview post-game before leaving for the CHL USA Top Prospects Challenge in Alberta this week. And that, as always, is brought to you by the Niagara Dental Clinic, creating natural smiles in the Niagara region for over 25 years. Here's what Ryan Roobroeck has to say, leaving for Lethbridge and Calgary this week. Well, Ryan, I know it's going to be an exciting week for you, a big opportunity. I know you would have rather left in a win, but to get on the score sheet and to play, going in with some confidence, how much are you looking forward to the next week?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, going in with a win would have been amazing. Obviously, tough loss out there, but we had a good game there. I mean, we had our chances, we just couldn't capitalize, and Barrie got a little lucky on some. But no, I'm happy with our group's performance out there tonight, and obviously going in their top prospect game with some confidence. It's huge. And
then Krys Barch has talked about the process and you really working on the fine details of the game. Everybody knows that you're a goal scorer and things like that, but it seems like he's really helping you elevate in other ways of your game, which obviously is big for the scouts to look at being in your draft year. So how much have you taken pride in the little details of the game, the back checking, the defensive play, and the stuff that's not going to show up on the score sheet this year?
Yeah, obviously Barchy's been through it. He knows what it takes to make that next level, and listening to a guy like that and taking everything that he says in, it's honestly huge. And him and I have worked a lot in practices on the fine details that he said there. And no, I thank Barchy for all the advice and all the tips and everything that he's helped me with.
And then is there anybody that you're looking forward to playing against or with in this little prospects challenge? Maybe players that you grew up playing with, or just guys that you know from the league?
I'm looking forward to playing with everybody. I mean, everybody's on that team for a reason, and every guy's is going to make an impact out there. But no, I'm looking forward to honestly just playing against the Americans and showcasing what the CHL can do.
Yeah, and then for you personally, I know you just came off an 8-game point streak, and it seems like you're playing with a lot more confidence than maybe you had at the beginning of the year, and the points are starting to come from playing that defensive hockey. So how pleased are you with your game? I know you're not going to be completely satisfied, but how would you assess where your game's at right now?
Yeah, I'd say I've taken a jump up in the right direction, but honestly, no, it's not just my game either. It's a team game out there. We got every guy on the ice is out there for a reason, and our whole team's made a huge jump, and it's been really huge to play with all those guys.
And then lastly, you've had a lot of guys to play with that are drafted already into the NHL. You've got Patterson, you've got Zada, you've got Kevin He, just to name a few, some of those guys that you're playing with. Is there something that maybe you lean onto those guys or ask them about their experience of going through this year? Because it can be, a lot of eyes, and it can get tough at times. So, maybe what have some of those guys said to you about what this process is like?
Just be yourself, honestly. Zad's going through last year, and Kevin Patty previous year, but no, just be yourself. Just go out there, just try to stay calm.
Thanks, Ryan. Best of luck in Alberta, and look forward to seeing you back.
Thank you.
There was Ryan Roobroeck as he leaves us for Calgary and Alberta this week. Calgary and Lethbridge in Alberta. Both of those cities are in the province of Alberta. Thank you, Brandon.
You weren't wrong.
I wasn't, but I don't like that stuff like that. Anyways, he will be back for the Kitchener game on Friday. I did get confirmation from Krys Barch that he actually isn't missing any games. So luckily for the IceDogs, it's a little bit of a lighter schedule. They don't have any games on a Wednesday or Thursday that he could possibly miss. So he will be back, but great opportunity for him, obviously, and look forward to him being showcased on a national scale. It's going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, a good opportunity for the young man to go out there and show what he's made of. And like he mentioned it's going to be cool for him to play against some of those Americans, some of those other guys in the OHL and right across the CHL, and hopefully represent the Niagara IceDogs crest well and the league as a whole. Show what he's capable of. We know what he's capable of. This is a bona fide 40-goal scorer, and I'm excited to watch him go out there and show it. And I think for him, a great opportunity. I love his answers, very mature. He sounds comfortable, sounds like a leader this year. And I think that for me is one of my big takeaways from that interview, not just about, the top prospects thing, but, talking about Barch and some of the things that, he's been working on to start to fine tune his game from a 200-foot perspective, looking for those little details, what can he be critical about, and the precision in which he's developing his game right now, not just as a goal scorer. I think that for me is, I love to hear that. And, he's going to hopefully go out and show some of that goal scoring, but also show, some of that, that attention to detail that he's been developing here this season. So, it hasn't been an overly booming, point, a start from a point production, standpoint. But I think, just the rest of his game is really starting to round out. And if you're going to take positives away from a relatively slow start to the season for the Niagara IceDogs, it's that Ryan Roobroeck is learning how to play a different brand of hockey. And I think a lot of guys on this team have had to make those kinds of adjustments. Patterson comes from a Barrie team, last year that was incredibly talented. Zada, Roobroeck, these guys had to play a different brand last year. It was a totally different coaching staff. They didn't have kind of the chip and chase, more of the, defensively responsible offensive side of the game. They play this year an offensive game that's a little bit slower, not because they're a slower team, but just because that's the way that they have been constructed, the DNA. So for some of these guys, they've had to adapt. They've had to play a different style of game offensively. And for me, seeing Roobroeck make adjustments from a high-flying, coming down the wing sniper to a positionally sound 200-foot, 6'4", physical, hard on pucks goal scorer, it's a huge jump in the right direction for him. I think his maturity, social maturity and interviews has taken a step. A lot of positives from Ryan Roobroeck this season. So I'm excited to see, what he has in store. I think it's a testament to how good he's been. He deserves to be there. And hopefully he puts a couple on the back of the net.
Yeah, be nice to see. And again, he leaves it with some confidence with that goal. Again, wanted to leave in a win, but he's got 22 points in 22 games. So it's a quiet point per game.
Can't really complain.
Point per game for Roobroeck right now. And again, right. We know that he can reach 2 or 3 more gears. But again, I think rounding out that 200-foot game, as you brought up there, that Krys Barch has really been working with him since training camp, is really going to make the difference, other than putting up 180 points this year in the Ontario Hockey League, which would be nice. But again, it's all about developing the young man for the next level at the same time. So exactly. We're going to take a quick break on today's show. We're going to come back. We're going to go through the weekly statistics. Going to hear from IceDogs head coach Krys Barch and look ahead to the upcoming games against Kitchener and the Peterborough Petes on Teddy Bear Toss night. So stay right here. We're right back on the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs. Proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family in their 3 great Niagara region locations. We're right back after this.
Did you know that the Global Pet Food stores in the Niagara region are all independently owned by members of the local community? We believe that pets are truly part of the family and are a source of joy in everyday homes around the world. Yet that living, loving experience usually doesn't happen all on its own, but takes extra effort to create and maintain. And we want you to know that the owners and staff at Global Pet Foods are always there to help you keep it going any way we can, because we believe. Proud show sponsor of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs. We hope to see you at one of the following locations across Niagara: 3643 Portage Road in Niagara Falls, 160 Highway 20 in Font Hill, as well as 400 Scott Street in St. Catharines. Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family.
Are you an employer looking to hire? Let the Niagara Employment Help Center save you valuable time and money by making your hiring process easier. Their services include free job postings in-house and on our website, fill job vacancies quickly and efficiently, access to a bank of potential employees, reduce employment costs, and financial incentives may be available to offset the cost of new hire training. Check out their website at ehc.on.ca or call 905-358-0021 for more information. The Niagara Employment Help Center, helping people find work since 1983. This Employment Ontario program is funded by the Government of Ontario.
J&L Flooring is a Niagara-based specialty flooring and design company. They take great pride and provide elite customer service and support. They are a specialty flooring and decor boutique shop with a beautiful showroom, great pricing, and a wide variety and truly unique selection of products. All their products are environmentally friendly and responsibly produced, so you can feel good about your flooring choices. Their goal as a local business is to build authentic relationships based on honesty and integrity that they foster with respect and authenticity. Offering a unique and wide range of quality products presented by a knowledgeable and patient team, they connect with our customers, simplifying the process to make your life easier and to make your home more beautiful. Visit them at 4424 Montrose Road in Niagara Falls or find out more at jnlflooring.com. If you think you can get a better deal anywhere else, you don't know Jack at J&L Flooring.
Wild Bill's Auto Repair is your local center for auto maintenance and repair in the Niagara region. Since 2012, Wild Bill's Auto Repair and Body Shop has been helping customers stay safe and confident on the road, knowing their vehicles in top running condition through their services. Located at 7868 Oakwood Drive in Niagara Falls, the garage started as a tribute to the owner's father, William Robert Hunter, who passed away, continuing the same community spirit and high level of service which customers came to expect from him back at Hunter's Auto Repair. Their multi-award winning auto shop has earned the trust of the Niagara community with its fair treatment of all customers, who can feel confident they'll get the trustworthy advice and repairs during their visit. Their experienced crew loves meeting new people and looks forward to forming a lasting partnership for the care of your cars. To find out more or to book service, contact them today. 905-358-7868 or wildbillsauto.ca. Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road since 2012.
Hey, it's Ryan Roobroeck.
This is Ethan Zader.
This is Ivan Galyanov.
This is Kevin He.
And this is the
Dog Pound Podcast,
the official podcast of the Niagara IceDogs.
And welcome back to part 2 of today's Dog Pound Podcast episode right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Thank you to those that are tuned in live on our video version on YouTube. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe, and smash that bell as you see on the video version right there to stay all up to date with all of our video coverage here on the network. As well, I'm going to pull up our QR code for our merch site. If you guys want to get in on some of this Dog Pound Podcast merch, it's right up there on the left-hand side of the screen there.
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming.
Christmas is coming.
You might want to get in on that.
Hoodies. You got beanies. We got beanies.
We got lots of stuff on there.
And the beanies are I mean, this time of year, it's cold, man. Cold.
It is.
My ears, you get those cherry tomato ears. Anybody else?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you can't even touch them. They're so cold that like they're rock hard. Yeah. Get an Armchair GM Sports Network Dog Pound Podcast beanie. Take care of your ears, ladies and gentlemen. I still need to get, I still don't have a Dog Pound Podcast sweater. That's unacceptable that we're 20 games into the season and I still don't have any of our merch. I gotta buy some. I have the jacket. Yeah. But I want some, like, I'm going to get like, we'll figure this out.
We'll figure it out.
I don't know.
for our fan base out there,
yes.
definitely.
If
you know anybody that enjoys the show, you can go and some very reasonable prices again. Ships here from North America. So we appreciate the support there. If you guys do want to get any of our merch and rep the Dog Pound Podcast swag wherever you guys are at, and for the winter coming up, as Christian mentioned. But make sure to give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network for all of our short reels and content. And I don't want to leave out our audio listeners as well, because when we go through those highlights, Christian, it's kind of hard to, we do our best to narrate for them, our audio peeps out there.
We try.
And we love you guys as well. We know that some people just like listening on their commute or their run or whatever they're doing. So we really want to, say thank you to those people too that aren't able to watch us on YouTube. So it's unfortunate you don't get to look at Christian's, Prince Charming face that he's got over there. But
buddy, my hair is terrible. I don't know what you're talking about.
Anyways, we'll get back to hockey here. And we will mention
out of bed
during the break. And again, if you want to tune in to more of this week's OHL in 60 podcast here on the network, we'll Colin and Reese will be breaking it all down, and I'm sure they'll be excited about it because Jet Luchenko is now a member of the Brantford Bulldogs. With the announcement of the Guelph Storm hosting the 2027 Memorial Cup, you knew that Luchenko was not going to be a guy that they'd have for next season, so they get a couple of draft picks and Lane Gallagher, a young center that they can use, and just goes to show again that every team, not just the IceDogs, every team in the Eastern Conference is looking up at the Brantford Bulldogs right now.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. I am officially out of observations. I think Brantford just needs to go play professional hockey somewhere. I don't know what is going on. I talked about it in the first segment today. I literally was like, who is trading to this team? Like, what are we doing? Guelph, that makes sense. They're in the West, probably not a playoff team this year. Sure. Give your best player to a team that's probably, going to end up in the Memorial Cup this season. They're building for the future. I get it. It's like, and we're not going to get into Brantford Bulldogs talk. We'll save that for some of the other shows, but that's scary. That's really scary. Jet Luchenko, there's another first rounder on that team. Like I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Like, I have goosebumps just thinking about it. They just beat the IceDogs 5-0. They've been beating the brakes off some teams so far this season.
Haven't
Here
lost
comes
regulation through 23 games.
Yeah. Another superstar. Right. And it's like,
yeah. So
I don't know, man. I don't know who's beating Brantford.
We'll turn this back to the IceDog talk here. 7th place in the East, Christian, and we're going to hear from IceDogs head coach Krys Barch here shortly. I'm going to go through the weekly statistics as well. But when you look at it now, again, 7th place in the conference. They were second a few weeks ago. Now Barrie has moved into that spot again. We're taking Brantford out of this because they're just the class of the OHL right now. But when you look at some of the other teams that they're going to be stacking up against, you mentioned they got Peterborough coming up this week. They've been surging as of late. They're 4th in the conference. The IceDogs right now have 71 goals for, 79 against, and again going through, their worst stretch so far of the season. But when you look at it, they're 2 wins away here from being up to 5th again. So, and again, you're going to play the Barrie Colts 4 more times this season, so there could be massive swing games as well. So let's not get too ahead of ourselves here that the season is going to, obviously you don't want to go through the stretch that they're going through, but you don't win the OHL championship in December, but you definitely need to get things going in the positive direction, and they can do that if they win 1 or 2 of these games this week.
That's it. Like, the season is very much still up for grabs in the Central and in the Eastern Conference, of course, barring Brantford. They're kind of just running away with it right now. But yeah, like you're a couple of points out of 5th. You're what is that? You're 7 points out of 2nd. Like,
and playing them this week.
Yeah, it's not the end of the world. There's still lots of time for a team that showed encouraging hockey against the 2nd seeded team in the East, Barrie, where they probably could have won that game. I'm not pressing the panic button. Like, we don't need to press the panic button. It's way too early to be pressing the panic button. Now, here's what I would suggest to our audience, to our fan base, and maybe between you and me, Brandon. Do they need another piece? Is there a trade? And we'll get into this in the monthly recap, but
we'll put out a poll for it.
We'll put out a poll for this. But this is what I'm starting to think now. It's okay. We're 22 games into the season. Brantford's out here making deals. The London Knights, they're making deals. I don't know what's going on with Flint. Like, they just don't want to stop losing. So some of these teams, they're making these moves, they're adding little pieces, and maybe as we get closer to the trade deadline, Frank will get aggressive again. We saw him make a ton of moves at the beginning of the season. It was like, oh boy, here we go. Like, this is the team. But now that, we've seen, some struggle, maybe not the best stretch of Niagara IceDogs hockey. Can we expect, maybe an extra defenseman or, somebody in the bottom six? What do you think that we need? And I'd love to hear from, kind of our audience and maybe from you, Brandon. Like, what would you add? And we'll talk about that in the monthly recap. But I just wanted to throw that out there that I'm thinking about it. I'm sure the organization is thinking about it. I would be shocked if it wasn't on Frank's mind that, there's probably moves to be made. And if Brantford keeps going the way they are now, there's going to be nobody left at the trade deadline. So, I mean, maybe it's time to start thinking about it. Like, let's make some moves here. Let's try to strengthen our team. So you've seen some other teams doing that.
Yep.
And I think, it's something to consider. In the midst of a skid, it's also another great way to just wake the boys up. A little injection like, hey, you know what? Here's a new guy. It's like the shiny new toy on Christmas, right?
Sure.
It's a bit of a breath of fresh air. So that for me is kind of where I'm trending. I think, maybe, something like that in the near future. But yeah, looking at the standings here, no reasons to be overly concerned. I do think they need to be scoring a little bit more goals, but their goals against, we've talked about this so many times on this show. It's been like a focus for us that they haven't been overly defensively responsible, but they've only given up 79 goals. Like, there's teams ahead of them in the standings on, both sides of the, the Western and the Eastern Conference split that have more. They've given up more. So I don't think the defensive side is as bad as maybe we think it is. I think they got to start scoring. You know what I mean? Like, it's that's another, new focus for me. We take a look at their last, couple of games here. They had 3 against Barrie. They had just 2 against Ottawa. The game before that, I believe they got shut out. We'll have to pull up the last 10.
Got it for you.
Here we go. So they had 3-0, 2, 3 against Kingston, and 2 against Erie. They've scored 5, 7. That's 10 goals in their last 5 games. That's 2 goals a game. That's not going to get it done for you. You got to be scoring more than that. So that's another thing I just wanted to point out that I noticed. Let's take the pressure off the defensive side. I think we need to start scoring a little bit more. Start playing for your goaltender. And this is a note that I made this past weekend, after Robertson got pulled in the Brantford game, that, they got to create some offense, against some of these better teams. And, I wanted to throw that out there as well, that, it's not just a defensive thing. It seems to be offensive as well. They're slumping on both sides of the puck. And that's not a recipe for success. And it's also encouraging in a sense that they're not playing their best hockey in any of the 3 zones of the ice. And they still manage to almost beat one of the best in the Eastern Conference. So it's encouraging that, we know they can reach, another level. And we know that there's, greener pastures at the end of the horizon here. And, we just have to get there. But I wanted to throw that out there as well, Brandon, that, maybe adding another forward, we talked a little bit, talking about the trades, maybe adding an extra forward, maybe adding some more depth on the back end will help with, the goal scoring and some of the defensive accountability.
Yeah, I think it definitely, we're going to put a poll out there for the fans next week, and we'll discuss that more in depth. But again, as you mentioned, the goaltending, we'll hear from Krys Barch a little bit later. He did pull Charlie Robertson in the Barrie game, but he's pulled Yarmolenko as well at times this year. I'll wait till that chat, but it seems like he tries to do that, not necessarily for the goaltending performances, but more so to try to spark the rest of the team to try to, get them turned around. But Robertson and Yarmolenko have both been fantastic for the team this year. And again, a little bit of run support for them in a baseball term would be nice. As those pitchers can go 8 innings, but if they don't get any run support, they still get the loss, right? So
that's what it is.
Exactly. So let's go on to our IceDogs weekly statistics graphic. And as always, that's brought to you by J&L Flooring. Read it off for you guys here listening on the audio version. Then we'll get Christian's quick thoughts on it. Obviously, as we know, they lost 5-0 and 4-3 in the 2 games this week. So the goal differential there was 9-3. The shots for and against this week, the IceDogs were 57-4, 57-4, 54 against. Power play 1 of 10. Penalty kill was 5 of 7. Their face-off percentage was 72 of 121, which is 59%. And then as far as the player stats go, Kevin He had 1 goal, 1 assist, 6 shots on net, 1 dangerous scoring chance, which was that shorthanded breakaway goal that he did score. Ryan Roobroeck had a goal along with 4 dangerous scoring chances, 9 shots total. Wraith Smith also had a great game for himself as well, with 1 goal on the week. Ethan Zada with an assist. And was very good on the faceoff dot as well. Riley Patterson had an assist, was 22 of 34 on the dot. Ivan Galyanov had 1 assist, 16 of 23 on the faceoff dot. Ethan Zada was 22 of 36, including, again, we'll see if that statistic actually stands, but he was 14 of 14 against the Brantford Bulldogs on the faceoff dot. So that's just a little quick thought on the weekly statistics. Christian, I know we went through it last week. You said they literally lost every single team stat last week. Well, it looks a little bit better this week, even though they still came away with no points.
Yes, that is. I'm glad you brought it up, because I was gonna say exactly the opposite this week. They did it. They pulled it off. The only statistic that they managed to lose this week was, of course, the power play, and then the actual scoring. Like on the score sheet, they did not win the scoring race this past weekend, but won everything in the faceoff dot. They had the shots on goal for what feels like the first time this season. Like, when was the last time that, this IceDogs team outshot anybody with consistency? So that for me is another positive. There's positives here. Wraith Smith, had a great weekend. Ryerson Edgar gets some points. Ethan Zada as well had the fight, the big hit, an assist, some dangerous chances in there. Galyanov as well, like you mentioned, with an assist. Roobroeck scores as well. That's, becoming a norm. And he had a ton of dangerous chances. And, for him, to have 4 dangerous shots and just score on one of them, he could have scored on all 4. And all of a sudden he's in a totally different spot in the scoring race. So for me, there's all kinds of positives here. Like, you have to kind of take pieces here and there. It's like a buffet, right? We gotta be willing to sample right now. We're sampling, because the end result may not be entirely pretty. There's a 7-game losing streak, and again, they fall twice this weekend to 2 important teams, Brantford and Barrie. But the sampling is nice. All these little hors d'oeuvres are fantastic. We're loving them. The shots, we'll take a little bit of that. We'll take a little bit of scoring chances for Ryan Roobroeck. We'll take the fight. We'll take the hit. We'll take, some stronger defensive play. There's all these little things that we're going to eventually pull together, and the main course is going to be feastable. So I think in the grand scheme of things, it's a step forward this week. As a team, they played better. Their individuals had fantastic opportunities. The goaltending was solid, despite Robertson getting pulled. Again, to your point, not exactly his fault, more of a let's kind of get going here kind of thing. So, again, I just want to reiterate, this is a good team. They're going to win hockey games. It's going to come. It's going to come. For me, we need to see more of this in the box score. I don't necessarily care too much right now whether or not we're winning games. I care how we're winning games and how we're losing games. This week, we lost a couple of games, so be it. But we won periods, we won areas, we won battles, we won face-offs. There's things that we can say we won this week. And I think, for me, that's a huge takeaway from your weekly statistics.
Yeah, face-off win, 72 for, 49 against. Again, the really only thing there that sticks out is the power play 1 of 10. But again, we've that they're continuing to try to reinvent the wheel with that. Multiple different times. They've tried every forward on there. And again, if you did watch the Barrie game, they were moving it a lot better in the offensive zone and had some really good opportunities to score on the power play. They just couldn't get one past Ben Horebic. Actually, they did score one of the 7 that they had. But again, not the best percentage in the world, but it's something that they're continuing to try to work through. And I will mention as we move forward here, wishing Luke Israel all the best. He has decided to leave the organization to pursue other opportunities. Had come over with a lot of pedigree from the Listowel Cyclones and winning a BCHL championship and a GOHL championship. So wishing him the best. That was confirmed to us by Krys Barch the post game against Brantford this week, that he's just no longer part of the coaching staff, and wish him all the best in whatever he chose to move on to with his next opportunity as an assistant coach. The other 2 assistants will remain there, Dylan Seitz and John Jutzi for Krys Barch, and as well Darcy DeWatcher is going to get some playing time down with the Niagara Falls Canucks in the OJHL. Been working as just a scratch defenseman for the IceDogs, but again, with a couple injuries, he might have to go into the lineup. So just a few quick team notes there.
Yep, I think for Darcy, obviously, going to get some playing time. I thought he looked great in training camp, so I'll give the young man some credit where I think it's due. I think he's looking to take a step this year, and I think if he goes down there, showcases some of his skills, we could very, very likely be seeing him back up here at some point, playing some games for the IceDogs. And of course, for Luke Israel, it's unfortunate to see a very talented and positive gentleman leaving the organization, but a very bright career ahead of him. And I'm sure wherever he is heading, they're going to be very happy to have him. So definitely a couple of bittersweet moments for sure.
So let's go to IceDogs head coach Krys Barch with his weekly thoughts, as always brought to you by Wild Bill's Auto Repair, helping customers stay safe and confident on the road in Niagara since 2012 in honor of the late William Robert Hunter. Here's the IceDogs head coach following the game against the Barrie Colts and how they plan to move forward.
It was a loss, but there were some positives there. So what do you take out of that game today?
Process was fantastic. Yeah. I told the men in there that that's the feeling that they have to have every night. What they invested in themselves, what they invested in the team, you've got nothing left. So if we can bring that process every night, we'll win 4 out of 5. But they are starting to learn the way we need to play. To compete. That team is first in our division. Outshot them 2-1, 40 to I think 20. For me, it's not just about the shot clock, but just the effort and heart that the group showed.
Absolutely, yeah. And you get a goal early, maybe that whole game is different. Do you go back and look at games like that and say, if type thing, or is it just what happened type thing?
Well, I think our record is, I'm guessing, I think it is 9-1-1 if we score first. So that first goal is pretty big.
Okay.
And again, comes down to small percentages with respect to a blue line. I haven't looked at it, but there was some questions whether that should have been or shouldn't have been. Right. But again, I really like the resiliency of the group. I like how they spoke on the bench, how they carried each other, how they supported each other, how they individually reset within game, even when we were down, 1, 2, 3-0. There was never a negative moment on that bench. Everybody kept pushing that wave forward.
Yeah, and that's not an easy thing to do when you're in the middle of a losing streak, is it? So what does that say about a team when, even in the middle of a losing streak, they're losing a game, they come back and have a good attitude and play like that?
They're getting there. They're starting to understand what it takes. They're starting to understand what it takes, to win, but also, what it takes to be a pro and what it takes to be a man. It's difficult situations. They're starting to make different decisions. You learn more through adversity than you do success, and they're starting to push through those boundaries. And like I said, for me, the effort from man to man there was, with regard to process, is what we want every night.
Sure, absolutely. You made a goaltending switch thing. What goes into your thought process when it's a goaltending switch? Is it just to shake things up, or a couple of goals only on a few shots type thing?
Maybe you have a feeling. I don't. You know what? Sometimes it might work out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's for a reason of changing momentum within a team. Having somebody a little bit different back there. Both of our goaltenders have played great throughout the year. I pulled both goaltenders at different points throughout the year. Some warranted, some maybe not. But again, they're always for a different reason.
Coach, as kind of previously mentioned, that's 2 games in a row where you think you have the first goal and it gets called back. What's the mindset and the mentality to keep the guys dialed in when, when you guys score the first goal, you do win most of the games, but you haven't scored the first goal since, I believe, October 31st. So getting into that process and thinking you have it 2 games in a row and then things kind of, went the other way.
Yeah, worry about what you can control. That's our mindset. So with us, we just keep moving forward. We had momentum and created our own momentum up to that point. And, again, very proud of the group and their mindset and how they spoke and again, pushing through some adversity. If you want to go long into the playoffs, if you want to have success, over a 68-game season, you've got to have that mindset of willing to push through and understanding, what's at the other side once you push through. And
then as far as the goal tonight by Kevin He, looks like he's finally back up to speed after that illness. Looked like, last game just getting his legs under him again after an illness is never an easy thing. So how did you think he's been working back in there, scored that really nice goal as well? And it seems like when he's in the lineup, it gives you that game-breaking speed that gives you those chances.
I liked how Kevin dealt with some adversity. When Kevin plays the right way, when he plays away from the puck the way he should, when he keeps himself defensively responsible, when he works to all areas on the ice, he can do what he wants. So it's just nice to see him invest himself, keep himself accountable to play away from the puck, and once he has the puck, he will be rewarded.
And then lastly, you've played against some really tough opponents as of late, and you got another one coming up. So, what's the message, even though you're not picking up the 2 points, but you're learning how to play against some of these top-end teams in the league and what it's going to take when you play them again later down the road?
Process. Like I said, if we're looking at fine-tuning here, keep tightening the bolts, and that's what we've been doing. Again, if we have 5, games like we just brought forth, I know that 4 out of 5 will walk away feeling good about ourselves. And you know what, even the 5th one that we do lose, because I know that group in there feels, I would say, fulfilled, knowing that they don't know if they had much more in them. When you push yourself to that extent and you can walk away with no regrets, I think that's the goal at the end, or the focus, and they did achieve that goal. They put everything out there.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep, no worries, thanks.
There was IceDogs head coach Krys Barch, as always, on the Wild Bills Auto Repair postgame. Christian, a lot of great thoughts there about a lot of different things for IceDogs head coach Krys Barch, but I want to get your quick takeaways on it, because I have a few, as we got about 5 minutes left in the show today.
Score the first goal. One of my biggest takeaways. They win when they score the first goal, and I can't argue with that. They got to find a way to score the first goal, and I think they're going to do that by leveraging something else that he said, which is process. Starting to get the process down, starting to turn these young men into professionals as junior hockey players and have them understand what it's going to take. And they're starting to get there, Krys said, and that's encouraging to hear that, things are moving in the right direction in the locker room. So for me, just a couple of takeaways. The first goal, that one jumps off the page. Obviously, if you win 9 times out of 10 when you score the first goal and you don't score the first goal in the last couple of games, well, it kind of makes sense why you're on a 7-game skid. Of course, the process, a big one. For me, I love to hear stuff like that from Krys, that, he's working with them. This is not, a finished product. It's going to be a project. They're continuing to work on it, week in and week out. And then for Kevin He, to be coming back, feeling good, and, to hear Krys talk a little bit about his game away from the puck. And, we've seen what he can do with it, with that game-breaking speed that you like to mention. He really can make a difference with the puck, but without the puck, he gets himself into these situations where he can really make a difference. So I thought those were, 3 interesting takes that I just wanted to kind of reinforce that I completely agree with. I think they keep hammering down this process, find a way to score that first goal. And I don't think it's just for Kevin He, but for the team as a whole. Be responsible away from the puck and you'll get rewarded. it's not just Kevin. It's Ethan Zotta. It's Ryan Roobroeck, going to those dirty areas. We've seen it this season. We've seen what it looks like when you play without the puck well. Wraith Smith has had a good couple of weeks. He played without the puck, and then when he touches it, he scores, right? Those aren't coincidences, right? You play hard, in between, the goal scoring opportunities, you play hard in the defensive zone, you're going to get rewarded for it. And I think that for me is the big takeaway, that, this coaching staff is focusing on that. It's, we're not, just looking to score goals here. We're looking to play solid hockey in 3 zones. So I think that for me is a big takeaway.
He challenged his team to play better in their end zone, top to bottom. And again, really tough week with Brantford and Barrie that came in here. But again, I think they made some strides there in that Barrie game where you can see, that they are listening at practice and they're trying to implement some different things. They get a full week of practice here because their next game isn't until the Kitchener Rangers at the Odd on Friday, and then back home on Sunday against the Peterborough Petes for Teddy Bear Toss game. Should be a fun game as well. But yeah, the process was fantastic. We need that every night. They're learning to play the right way. Process is something that Krys Barch is hammering into these guys right now, as you mentioned. And he said they're 9-1-1 if they score first. So we've been talking about that for basically the whole month of November now. That's something that they really need to get off to a hot start on time. All these things are correctable, Christian. I think that's a good way to end it, is that all these things that they're going through right now are things that they have the ability to control and correct. Yes.
And there's like process work. It reminds me of like math class, which is going to give me a headache just thinking about it. But, when you're working through a problem, there's steps that you follow. There's an equation. There's a very clear way that you're going to take the numbers and you're going to find the right answer. You may not get it right the first time, but if you have the equation, you have the formula, eventually you put those numbers in correctly, you're going to get the right answer. And that's what I'm looking at with this IceDogs team. They got the formula. Now, where are they plugging in certain players? What line combinations are going to spit out the right answer? Yeah, Krys Barch has the calculator right now in his hand. He's trying to figure it out. This whole, the team's looking at it. They're trying to find the right inputs. They have the formula though, and that's what's encouraging for me. Krys Barch has a very clear identity of what he wants this team to be, and it's a winning formula. They just have to find the right numbers to input.
Yep, and that's why I think you've seen some of the moves for Noah Reed, Liam Spencer, some of those guys that Frank Evil has been able to bring in as of late, and we'll have him on the show next week for our big monthly recap episode, guys. Again, we'll be doing some special segments for that show as well. We're doing a ticket giveaway as always, and we'll have a new segment debuting from Christian as well that will give you a little not want to miss some maybe a little bit extra for you guys next week as well for the big monthly recap. So that's going to wrap it up for today's Dog Pound podcast episode right here on the Armchair GM Sports Network. Thank you those again that tuned in on our video version on YouTube. As always, you know what to do. Hit like, hit subscribe, smash that bell. And thank you to our loyal audio listeners as well. You can give us a follow on X at Dog Pound Podcast for all of our IceDog updates, as well as on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok by searching the Armchair GM Sports Network. So stay tuned for our Teddy Bear Toss game coverage this upcoming Sunday. Enjoy watching the game on TV in Kitchener. And for Christian Simmons, my name is Brandon Caputo. That's it for another episode of the Dog Pound Podcast, the official podcast of your Niagara IceDogs, proudly brought to you by Global Pet Foods, where pets are undeniably part of the family, and there are 3 great Niagara region locations. We'll talk to you guys again next week.
You're listening to the Armchair GM Sports Network.